Quality game defined.
Okay, hey guys, it's Vince from PUA Lingo. I have an exclusive interview today. Very special treat with my man, Zan Perrion. You guys may remember him. He was originally, he wore a white jacket at Cliff's List seminar. He was, I remember reading your archives back on the old, fast seduction forums. There were hundreds of pages of PDFs, back when you used to post. And you guys may have seen him on various TV talk shows on YouTube. He was also a former male model, and now he's the founder of Arsa Morada. Zan, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Vince. Thanks for having me.
You recently published a book, The Alabaster Girl. Great reviews on Amazon.
Right here. If you guys can see it.
Yeah. I have a copy. How long
great.
did it take you to put together the whole thing?
You know what? I was thinking about writing this book over 20 years ago, because I started to understand things about women, and I was starting to get excited about it. And so I've been thinking about it for a long time. And then 10 years ago is when I actually started writing it. And I started it kind of on my birthday 10 years ago, and I finished it on my birthday 10 years later. So it took me 10 years to assemble and scratch my head and wander the earth. And you know, I even went into Nicaragua in the jungles for 4 months just to clear my head and work on the book and to get it out. So yeah, it took a long time, big process.
No, it was a great book, and then
Thank you.
You talked about pickup artists as there was a quote I remember you said. The community started with the right intentions. You know, there were guys who needed help, but then I think those intentions turned out to be mostly tricking men, as opposed to we were supposed to seduce women, but we got lost along the way. And I thought it was really interesting. What are your thoughts on so-called pickup artists now? Have you been keeping in touch, or are you just sort of, I don't know what's going on with those guys anymore?
Well, yeah, like the seduction community kind of was born out of like I said in my book, out of a real need. Like there's an unmet need. Men have completely foundered and lost their way in their dating lives, and we don't get any instruction from our fathers anymore, and nothing works that worked for our fathers anyway. And so it's completely with the internet and online dating and social media and stuff like that, it's a mess, and guys are trying to figure it out. So they're not to blame. Now the seduction community came along, and there was guys that said, because of the internet, now I can connect with volumes of people, and I have something that I can say about it. And the intentions and the need was real. And the intentions of the instructor guys is real too. They said, hey, I learned something. I can teach you guys something. At the same time, the seduction community kind of veered from its noble intention, which I will say it was noble, to try and give men a leg up and an understanding again. And it veered off into this whole world of manipulation and how to get her panties off in 3 easy moves. And it took it's taken quite a backlash for that. There's guys thought, well, I can sell something that's going to, the secrets or the quick fix, and guys will flock to the workshops, which they did. And they thought, well, I finally found the answer. And then they found out, all these years later that there was no answer in that. So, and yeah, and to answer your second part of that question, I know all the old school guys. I mean, like, I was back in the day, when it was all forming and talking about it. I was kind of like a pioneer of those days. And I don't know really any of the new guys that are coming up as dating coaches and, slick websites and stuff. I don't really know them, so I have no idea. But the old school guys, I know a lot of them. I've seen them over the years. I don't completely keep up with the industry so much because I'm just kind of, I'm in Romania and I'm working on my own things over here. So that's what it is.
That's awesome. Have you always been good with women, or did you suck at one time and had to figure it out?
The amazing thing is this, Vince. In my 20s, and this is going to sound like I'm exaggerating, and I guarantee I'm not. I was massively, my early 20s, my late teens, my early 20s, I was completely insecure and needy and, the industry term AFC. I was the poster boy, and people don't think so, but I came out of, I was raised in the wilderness of Canada, and I my last formal education was 13 years old. So I didn't have a lot of social education and social interaction. I was raised in the forest with no electricity, no running water. And I grew up in that, and I thought I'd stay there forever. So 19 comes along, and I find myself now in the cities of the world, and poor and no education and trying to figure it out. And I thought I had nothing to offer, and I was massively insecure, and I spent my 20s, believe me, banging my head on the wall and being rejected and laying awake at night trying to understand why, and why was I doing wrong, and why was it,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was down that path, believe me.
Did you figure it out on your own then, sort of just making mistakes and then picking it up one step at a time, or did you have a mentor?
That's the thing, like the whole thing about me is like when I was trying to figure this out in my 20s, there was no seduction community. There was, I've never read any books on dating relationships in my life. Still to this day, I never have. I've never taken anybody's programs or workshops or any of these things. And I learned it all by myself. That's why it took me so many years. It took me so many years, and that trying to understand it and trying to learn the ways and means of women, the hearts and minds of women. Essentially, and I've said it in my book, my instructors all these years have been women. For the good and the bad, I've learned everything I know from women. So I had no mentors.
And you teach women too in your classes too.
Yeah, but I make a careful distinction. I don't coach women because, and there's guys out there who are coaches for women, and they give women dating advice. I remember, like, I've done lots of talks for women, lots of workshops and that kind of stuff. And I remember one time I was in Texas, and I was talking to a group of women, and I know a lot about women. And in all these years, I can pat myself in the back and say, hey, I've studied nothing else but women. I understand a lot about women. And I would say things to the group of women, and you could see the light bulbs going on and say, how does he know these things about us? And I remember in Texas years ago, a woman came up to me after my talk to women there, and she said, you know what? Everything you said is completely accurate. And be careful. You're not a woman. In other words, it's not my place to go and tell women how they should be. I can say it to men because I'm a man. I can preach to myself, and I can say, men, you're doing this, and here's a better way of doing it. But for women, I don't actually coach them. All I can say is, here is the beauty I've seen in my life. Here's the kind of women I've seen in my life, and this is what they were like, and their qualities, and what they did and said. So I just basically talk to women through example of what I've seen.
What are some of these things that you know about women that we think that, or maybe perhaps you think that most men don't know?
Well, I tell you what most men don't know. Probably the most fundamental thing that most men do not know, and is that women are more sexually oriented than we are. In other words, they are more thinking about sex than we are on a daily basis. And yes, I'm talking about the most innocent, kind, legs crossed girl who's smiling at the room and all innocent and shy. I'm thinking about, they're all the same. They are thinking about sex constantly. And when you know this, when a man knows this and explains to him or expresses to women, I understand this, that you women are thinking about this all the time, that women are fundamentally dirty and it's a good thing. Then, and when women recognize that you really know that in your heart, you're not just saying this, all pretenses go down, the windows or the walls go down, the dirty jokes come out. Everything. So, the number one thing is we think women are all innocent, and we have to coax them and convince them to have sexual experiences. And they're just waiting to be swept off their feet, waiting for a guy to come along who's not afraid to express himself and to say something, to express his manly self, whether he's nervous or not. And that's the biggest secret that guys don't know. And they're shocked when they hear it.
Yeah, it's like you accept her for who she is, and part of her personality is her sexual side.
But understand, a man can be sexual. Like here's the dynamic of it. A man can be sexual, and he's celebrated for it. A woman is sexual and presents herself to the world in that way, and she's shunned for it. And so women, the biggest fear that women have is not that they're going to be perceived as, well, their biggest fear is that they're going to be judged. And And because they would love to open up themselves and open up their hearts and open up the way they are, but they don't want to be judged by their friends, by men, by others. And so it can take them down into this social constructed box that they're afraid to open up. And once you let them know that, the number one thing I think that women have said to me, I just thought of this, that the number one compliment that women ever give to me, and I hear this a lot, is, you know what, the thing about you is this, we never feel judged. I never feel judged by you. You don't judge. And that's, to me, is the highest compliment, because that's the highest fear of a woman, to be judged for the way she is. And I don't judge. I know women are sexual, and I celebrate it, and I never judge it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in return, they don't feel judged around you, and they feel free, right? So they can express.
Exactly. And they open up. They tell me everything. They tell me secrets they haven't told their sister. They tell me things all the time. And these are just girls who are friends of mine.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
I want to get a little technical before we go maybe more broad later on. When you walk into a bar these days, what happens? Do you go out alone? Are you always with friends? And then, like, what exactly happens when you end up going to these social situations?
It's funny because, I'm 50 years old now, and I have been going to bars and clubs and venues and parties and stuff since I was 19, 20. and I think, you know what? I'll have a room of like 200 guys, and I'm talking to the guys and stuff. And I say this, and because it's probably true, I have been out where girls are, in the bar or taverns or pubs or restaurants or whatever, probably more than any guy in this room. So I've done my time. And in my 20s, like I said, I was completely insecure and needy and falling in love with a girl and thinking was the only one, and crying. And I used to go to the bar by myself. This is before there was any kind of a community. I used to go to the bar by myself, and I would stand against the bar with my arm in the bar like this, trying to look cool, in which I didn't know how to do. And I would just stand there hoping for something to happen, night after night after night after night, by myself, lean against the bar, and just kind of stand there and look around. And I was too nervous to approach a girl. There's no way I was going to approach a girl. So my whole thing that I developed over the years was to stand in one place in a bar, closer to the women's bathroom. It was always a good place to stand because there's always a train of girls going by. Yeah. And I would just stand there and try and acknowledge the girls or get their attention or wink or smile at them as they walked by. I was too embarrassed to walk across and have people see me try and talk to her and get shot down. So I developed this whole thing of like sub-communication, which was constantly, without words, letting a woman know I see her. I see you over there. I like what you're wearing, and you know that I like it, and you know that I see you because I'm expressing that. This was developed over years, and still today, I walk into a bar and I can stand in one place, and I don't approach that set of girls, and I don't approach that set of girls, and I don't approach that girl over there. I don't cold call on girls, but I'm constantly letting my energy be seen, letting all the women know I'm here and I'm looking at you. Yes, I am, and I'm smiling, and I like it, and I'm looking at your friend too. So I'm approaching constantly, but from a distance.
Communication.
Yeah, and like I rarely walk up to a girl in a bar, for instance, that I'm not 70, 80% sure to speak. I never cold call. I never go, hey girls, can I ask your opinion about something? Never.
Is this something that a normal guy can learn, or does it take some amount of time?
It takes time, but you know what it is, Vince? Like, guys have read my book. Guys have taken my programs, my online programs, stuff like that. They've seen all kinds of stuff. They've read all my stuff. They can finish my sentences. And they've taken all kinds of other programs from, that in the community and dating advice and stuff like that. And the one thing that they're missing, the one thing that they get when they come and spend time with me, for instance, and just like, let's walk around the city. I'm going to tell you a few things, and let's just see how the world reacts to you. The thing that they fundamentally see the most is they're missing the spirit of the interaction. They're missing the spirit of mischief, of sexual mischief, and of putting your energy into the world and receiving it back. They're saying they're repeating the phrases. They're repeating the the lines that they hear, or the cool conversation, or the joke that they heard, and they're taking Toastmasters and becoming good storytellers, etc. But they're missing the spirit of mischief, which is a masculine mystique. And so I think the biggest thing that, like I've always said, I'm not a coach. I'm not a dating coach. I don't know how to go out, teach guys to go out and get phone numbers. But what I'm good at doing, and I think I'm the best at doing this, is observing a guy, for instance, talking to a girl at a party, for instance, and I can have my back to him and I still understand what's going on, I know what's going on, or I can see the way the girls are reacting to him and the way he's responding to them, and I can adjust that 5% different. He knows everything. He's a conversationalist. He tells jokes, but the 5% shift in his energy that he needs is what I'm good. I'm a micro tuner. I can tune somebody's understanding up, and I'm good at it. And tell him even in the moment, right there as he's talking to her, I can pull him away from the girl and say, listen, you're talking like this, and just do this differently, and shift your focus this way. You're staring at her, your eyes smiling constantly. Shift it this way, and it changes everything in the moment. And the guy sees it and says, "Now I understand." So that's why it took so long to write this book, Vince. I'm trying to capture that spirit of these men who have women in their lives, men who have women that follow them to the day they die. They would take care of them. The guy can have girlfriends, he can have wives, and they still talk about that guy. And they would take care of him forever. They would rush to his bedside if he was dying. And what is the spirit of that? And I'm trying to speak about that, and I try to write about it because it's a spirit, and you have to see it. I think you have to see it in action.
It's such a different way of learning and teaching seduction compared to approach, open, run a routine.
Yeah, it's true.
But you are,
and
also at the same time, you are very technical. In other words, you are attuned to details. It's just that you are more in tune with perhaps the way non-spoken things happen and the way energy happens. Yeah,
I am convinced. And I realized it recently because I've been all over this world, and I've talked to guys who are fantastic with women. And there's one thing I know more than anybody I know, even all the guys I know who've been with lots of women and really get a good understanding of women. I can see I have an intuition about women. I can feel what she's thinking when she's talking to a guy. I can tell in a party, in a room, I can see, I can be in a party and there's a kitchen and then there's a room and there's another room and people are moving and migrating and drifting around, talking to different groups. And I know who likes who in that room or in that party. I know who's in the kitchen, who's about to come this way because they like that guy. I can feel that whole energy because I've stood in it. I've sat in that energy for years, and I've watched and watched and watched and watched and watched. And I can explain that to guys in ways that they're shocked to say, well, I have no idea. Most guys don't know if a girl likes them. I'm not sure. She smiled at me. I don't know. And they're trying to test the waters and see if she, and I know, I can tell. I can see the way a girl interacts with a group of people, and I know who she likes immediately. I can see it.
I think this is a question on the Reddit thread, but it happened to me a couple of times too. Sometimes you get girls staring at you at a bar, and she's not smiling, she's just looking at you. And then at some point in time, you go up and talk to her, and then she's completely cold. And the guy's like, I thought you were checking me out. Like, what happened? Yeah,
the bar is a crazy, crazy scene. I mean, you will have the most innocent secretary girl or a nurse or something who, if you met her on the street or you met her in the park or you talked to her somewhere, she'd be so sweet and kind and gentle and stuff like that. But she's out with her 3 girlfriends. And the dynamic of tonight, because we're going to a bar and we're dressing in our little titty tops and our little short skirts, and our hair's all poofed up like this, and we're going to go out there and be seen. And so they automatically, because of the culture of it, they automatically shift into this. The guy is cute and I like him, but I can't show it. I have to be a little. The dynamic is I have to be bitchy because this is the club and my girlfriends are blah blah blah. And it's like. Clubs are insane for guys. Clubs are fantastic for women, and women go to clubs to be seen by other women, not by men. Here's a secret for your guys. We would have parties for years where we would have, we'd be in the city and we'd say, okay, we don't know anybody in the city, but we met, 50 girls so far in the last couple months. So let's have a party at our house. And we meet girls in the bar and we would invite them on Facebook or something. We say, we have a party at our house. This would be great. There's going to be a lot of cool guys there. You're going to like it. And you think, and we thought over the years that that's the best way to get girls to come, to tell all the cool guys going to be there. You're going to meet some cool guys. I know you're single girls, blah, blah, come. And that's wrong. The way you get girls to come to your party is you say to them, we're having a party tonight, and it's not very far from here, and I promise I'll make sure, I'll take it upon myself to make sure you get home safe. You'll be completely safe, and there's going to be a ton of hot chicks there. There's going to be a ton of hot girls there. You fit right in. It's that little subtle difference there. We say there's going to be cool guys you can meet. No. You got to tell the girls where the girls are going to be, and that's where they want to go.
Why does that matter?
Because the women, you know what? Women will wear Prada shoes or Jimmy Choo shoes, and they'll have a little Louis Vuitton purse and stuff like that. Do you think men care about that? Do you think they're doing that for men? Not a chance. Men don't care what her purse brand is. They just care, or her shoes. They just care if the shoes come off easily,
right, and
if the dress comes off easily. Yeah. They do not care. It's women. If you ask any of the girlfriends that you know and say, listen, if you go to a place, you're invited to go to somebody's place to, say, watch the Super Bowl, for instance, and it's only going to be guys there, they'll say, okay, and they'll put their hair up and they'll put their sweatpants on and they'll go. But if the moment they know that there's girls going to be there, now they're going to put their makeup on, now they put their hair on, now they're going to do their... Women dress for women. They never dress for men, and we don't understand this. So women at a bar are dressed to be seen by women, not by men. This is something men fundamentally don't understand.
It's sort of a chicken and the egg thing, because for some guys it's like, well, so I need girls to get girls there, but I don't have girls in the first place. So where do I start?
Well, you start at the beginning. I mean, like, the best thing you can do, the best wingman is a woman, for sure. Women, and it's cliche, probably everybody knows this, but you go out with women, it doesn't matter what she looks like, doesn't matter what, she's not the prettiest girl, that doesn't matter. You go out with a woman, you be sweet and kind to her and let all the girls see that. Every girl needs to see the way you interact with the woman. That's the whole point. Women are like seagulls, they see one pecking, they all come running. And they have to see that. That to me is the greatest thing. You have to, you're being kind and gentle to, and sweet and inviting to the women who you're not attracted to in a bar, and all the women who are pretty that you are attracted to, more your type, will look over and say, hey, how come he's talking to those girls, and how come he's not talking to me? It's just the nature of women. It's the way it goes.
Okay, so you can't pretend like you're nice. You have to actually genuinely be nice to girls you're not attracted to.
Yeah, a big tenet of the Arsa Morada philosophy is curiosity, and it's something you can't fake. You have to, for instance, Vince, if you're curious when you're 14 years old about computers, you would never have to take a computer programming course in your life. You would be good at it. If you're curious about something, you're going to read about it, you're going to learn about it, you're going to hack away at it, you're going to try and figure it out, and you'd be good at computer programming because you're curious about it. Anything you're curious about, you're automatically good about. So curiosity is a muscle that you can train, and if you're curious about every woman that comes near you, and you let it be shown on your face without this aloofness, hey, yeah, okay, yeah, mm-hmm, and trying to be cool. If you say, listen, you know what? You're a pretty girl, and your other friend over here is a pretty girl, and I like pretty girls. That's a cool thing. That curiosity of speaking, like, who are these three girls who just came to my worldview, and because that's cool to me, because I like girls, and here you are arrayed before me. And you could have one that's overweight, you can have one that's not so pretty, and one that's pretty. And you're still giving your energy to them because they're females, because they're women, and because that's who you are, not because you want them to like you in some way. Because this is how I stand on this earth. You're a girl, I like girls. Come tell me some stories. Tell me some stories about you girls.
You're going to think I'm an asshole, but I'm just asking this because I know other people are thinking it, not me. But some guys will be like, well, Zan, if I'm nice to the fat girl, then she's going to like me back, and then I'm stuck with her. What do I do then?
You know what? That has never been... Let me understand this. What I'm trying to say.
Right. I mean, I'm sure the girls like you, like all sorts of girls like you, right? And there's some you are going to be sexual with, and some that you are not. So how do you... Yeah. How do you still be nicer but keep that line clear?
You know what? I think that. Let me say this carefully because I'm trying to sort this out in my head right now. I'm convinced that, and maybe before it was different, but now for sure, I put my sexual energy into the world. I don't dial it down for anybody. I'm a guy who likes women. And, people read about me on the internet or the stuff I've, said in the past, and they think, well, Zan's this guy, all flowers and poetry and blah, blah, blah. And he's sweeping women off their feet, Don Juan DeMarco. And nothing could be further from the truth. I am the dirtiest guy when I talk to women. My opening line can be like, wow, you know what? You have a great ass, girl. I'm just saying, you have a great ass. And thank you. And thank you for wearing those pants that show it. So I'm very direct and very dirty and scoundrel when I talk to women. And I give that energy to the whole world. And I don't dial it down for, if there's men around, women around, I don't care. This is who I am. And my point of that is that I did dial it down for years. I'm a sexual guy, and I dialed it down for years and years and years, where I tried to hide that energy and be the nice guy, look in her eyes, and be the massager and all this kind of stuff. And for me, it's like every woman needs to feel that I'm a sexual guy and I'm here in this world, and that's who I am. Now, having said that, I can't remember a time when a woman I'm not attracted to got the impression that I was attracted to her or I was trying to pick her up. Women understand, women, I think it's because I'm so demonstrably clear, and I'm saying, you look lovely in your dress, my dear, and your friend looks lovely in her dress, and thank you for being girls, and thank you for wearing dresses, for one. And thank you for wearing red lipstick, both of you. And you know what? It's strange, but the way I say it with the kind of authority I say it, I think, I'm trying to feel this out, I think makes it so that she recognizes that I like her friend and not her, but I'm not going to exclude her, if that makes sense. In other words, I don't run into the problem so much, Vince.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess it's the fact that you still give her respect, and so she doesn't feel cheated or whatnot. I think some guys also make the mistake that they find a first girl who likes them, and they latch onto her right away, and they don't know how to think abundantly. So
exactly,
that ends up happening as well.
Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah, I need to explore that more, but it's for sure. It's, you know what, because I don't get the wrong impression from a girl who I'm not attracted to. And I give her my full energy and I say, you know what, thank you for wearing the dress. You look lovely tonight. And I take her on the arm and I walk around the bar with her. That's how I do it. That's how, but I never get the sense that she thinks, okay, he's trying to pick me up. No, never, because I give that energy equally to the world. Like, maybe that's why. I have to explore that more.
Yeah, I'm glad I got you thinking. You spend a lot of time traveling. I guess you're in Eastern Europe right now.
I'm in Romania.
Romania, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you like American culture? And how is that different than dating? In so many different countries. I'm sure there's a different life culture and there's a different dating culture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very similar, and yet it's very. It's quietly different in the East. And when I talk Western culture, I think everything west of Germany. Like Germany, everything that's west. In the East, there's I'm not sure what it is, an optimism, I think. There's a pessimism in Eastern Europe, and which is, inherited from parents and this struggle and this kind of stuff. But there's also an optimism of high education, opportunities, consumerism blossoming and stuff. And there's an optimism in the young people, and they don't recognize it. And the dating culture in Eastern Europe, I would say this: the guys don't have to try very hard because the women are beautiful across the board. You come to Bucharest, Romania, come visit me in Bucharest. Your life will change. You will cry. You'll stand in the streets. You come with me. We'll sit and we'll have a glass of wine on an outside door table. I live in the old city in the very center here, and you'll cry at the volume of abundance of pretty girls walking by. And as you walk the streets, and there's a table full of 7 girls, another one of 8 girls, another 4 girls over here, and they give you eye contact and they watch as you walk by. It's a different culture, and there's no sense of where are we going to be in 5 years. This is interesting. You don't get that sense if you start dating a girl here. You don't get the same sense of that you get in the West. Of okay, what am I to you? What is this? Where are we going to go with this relationship? Where are we going to be in 5 years? That kind of feeling, like that kind of question. In Eastern Europe, the girls. Wow, this is probably incendiary to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The girls in Eastern Europe put you first. They give everything to you. They're so generous to you, and they want you to have a good experience that you stop in your tracks and you look at her and say, how wonderful is this girl? And it makes you as a man want to give something back to her. As opposed to the West where we're going, okay, well, if I say I love you first.
What's in it for me?
Right, what's in it for me? And and we're 80% because we're hedging our bets and we're guarding ourselves, and her girlfriends are saying, be careful with this guy, and they listen to this kind of counsel, and the guys too are hedging their bets in who's going to say I love you first, and I said I love you, and you go, that kind of stuff, that tentative, hesitant, let's see how it goes type of thing. You don't have that in the East, where they say, you know what? You're a great guy. Thank you for coming into my life. And here's the greatness of who I am as a female. And because you see that energy, it makes you feel, wow, I can stand on this earth as a man because I'm supported by the great feminine energy. And I want to give something back to you because you're such a fundamentally great girl. And this is like, I have a girlfriend for 3 years in Romania. It's like a lovely girl. And I adore this girl. I'm in love with this girl. And she's my girlfriend. We lived together for 3 years. And even before I was with her, and even now, I see girls who are so kind and generous and gentle and life-giving in their female spirit that you think, you look around and you think, how come I didn't see this before? There's such a life-giving, rebirthing energy from women, and the women in the West have it too, but because of society and culture, reality shows, and all the nonsense we have, it's hidden it just like it's hidden the masculine mischief and edge of men. Yeah.
When you date, do you date multiple girls at the same time? Do you have one girl at once? What's your take on, I guess, polygamy, or, how do you handle relationships?
Well, I'm a one-woman type of guy, and I'll tell you why. It's not because I think, okay, well, I'm going to commit to this girl and I made a promise. None of that nonsense. Instead, if I like a girl enough to see her tonight and want to see her tomorrow night, then I really like her. And so for me, it's like a girl that I'm seeing. I'm not going to be seeing her unless I really, really think, wow, what a great human this is, and what a great being she is, and how much she makes me laugh and inspires me and takes care of me and all this kind of stuff. So for me, one woman type of guy, when I meet a girl who I like her body, I like her smile, I like her smell, I like all these kind of things, I want to see her all the time. And it doesn't change who I am. I'm still a guy who loves women, and I still stand on this earth and look around at women, but I would never cheat on my girlfriend. And I would never change. And I've been with girls in the past who wanted me to settle down and be this guy and that's not me. I'm a pirate. I'm a gypsy, and this is who I am. And so, my lovely girlfriend who I'm with now understands this about me. She understands that I love women, and she brings my house, my Arsa Morada here in Romania is full every night. Now you can ask guys who've been here, full every night of women, beautiful girls, highly educated girls, stellar girls, and it's because she recognizes that that's who I am, and I feed off the energy of women. I love it so much, and she brings all the girls around, and they're always in our space, and we're always surrounded by girls. And I would never cheat on my girl or sneak around behind her back, not a chance, because she gives that to me. She gives that generosity to me. She gives me the spirit of the female nature, which men are starved for. because I'm talking a lot. Sorry, Vince, but men are starved for true feminine nature across. This is why I have a job doing this. This is why you have PUA Lingo, because men are starved for the essence of the glory and greatness and life-giving, nurturing spirit and inspiring spirit of female nature. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. So that's interesting, but don't you ever meet girls, maybe this is more of a, again, thinking of what you're going to be 5 years from now. You know, if a girl says, hey, I want to have kids one day, I want to settle down, you're honest with them up front, right? You say, hey, that's not who I am. So if that's what you want, I can't give that to you.
Yeah, you know what? I tell you, Vince, I would rather lose a girl that I really like a lot, and would love to see her every day. I'd rather lose her than to misrepresent about that kind of thing. And there's so many women that I know that I've met over the years who are in a relationship with a guy for 3 years, 4 years, and they say, you know, and they question and they wonder, like, are they going to propose? Is he going to propose to me? Like, are we be something in the future? And the guy doesn't really know, so he doesn't. It's not like he's being deceitful. Well, I shouldn't say that, because some guys know for sure that the girlfriend that they have, they're never going to marry. They're waiting for something else to come along. But she's good in bed and she cooks for them and stuff. Yeah, so they keep going. Yeah. And years go by. And women, I can't tell you how many women have told me that in a relationship for 4 years and it breaks up, that they feel cheated because they feel like their youth was taken from them, that their childbearing years were taken from them, right. That he misrepresented. And now I'm 32 years old, 34 years old. And I thought I was going to have children by the time I'm 27, and he led me on to believe that. So I would rather lose a girl who's looking for a husband and looking for this long-term thing. I'd rather speak the truth and say right from the beginning, and so I do. It would break my heart to lose you because you're such a wonderful girl, and I will not misrepresent. I will never lie or misrepresent you, and I will tell you the truth about me. And if I don't know what I want for you in the future, I will say that, because some guys don't know. Sometimes they think I want to be with this girl forever. Sometimes they say, I don't. So if I don't know, I will say that too.
Sometimes it's a girl, though, especially now that I'm 31 now, but back in my 20s, I know girls who know guys who are dating guys, and they, you know, when you're dating someone, you know them, and you're living with them, they know he's not super serious yet. They choose to stay with him over a long, couple of years, maybe even longer. And so, to some degree, isn't it the woman's fault for staying with him?
Oh, of course. We're all to blame in this. Believe me. Like I don't say women are all innocent, like kind, wonderful creatures, peaches and cream. No way. Women are manipulative and petty and vindictive, is just like any man is. So the analogy I use, Vince, is that it's like we're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and you don't want to go into the ocean by yourself because it's like sharks and you have to swim and this kind of stuff. And so we kind of like hang on the side of the boat and keep staying on that until another boat comes close enough that we can jump onto it. And I had lots of guys tell me, I'm just with this girl and I know I'm not going to be with her forever, but nothing's better come along. And to me, it's like, I'd rather burn down the whole house than lose everything than
I'd rather be single. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
Have you ever been rejected? Like, I know there was a thread where you have a famous quote, do not shine your light where it is not welcome. Now, when you go up to girls, I'm sure every once in a while, perhaps, you may get a weird reaction since, you don't know her. How do you handle that? And, do you just, since you're such a positive person, do you always just, when you meet negative people, does it just not register, or do you just ignore them and move on? Or how do you handle negativity that, comes your way?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know what? It's like the guys who are, if I meet a woman who's being bitchy, artificially bitchy, understand this, because she's putting it on to see if you can take a punch or test you a bit, or like I said in the book, I don't go where my energy is not accepted. It's like riding a bicycle with the brake on. It's like you just can't move. And so there's such an abundance of great, inviting, loving women out there that why would I try and correct your behavior, girl, And guys say, I mean, you read on the forums out there, there's all kinds of ways to react to a woman who's being bitchy. You can, make a joke. You can, be stern to her or say something strong to her, or you can trying to, teach her that, your mother never taught you to speak like that. I don't know, all these kind of stuff. And I just say, I look at her and I'm thinking, there's nothing for me here. And I turn my attention away because I know there's going to be something for me somewhere else. It doesn't affect me. The problem is most guys let they'll be sweet and kind, and they'll say, okay, I get up my nerve and I'm nervous, but I want to talk to this girl because she looks pretty to me, and they're sincere, and they walk over to a girl or a couple of girls, and they say, can I buy a drink, or can I ask you a question or something like that? And the girls look at them and they go, we're talking here. Hello, can you not see I'm talking to my girlfriend? In other words, you're being a bother to us. It's flick, flick, flick off the shoulder, and it's like. And the guy turns around, walks away, and says, "You know what? I'm not tall enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not. I don't get it." And he blames himself, and he doesn't blame the social construct which is his. So, and then the rest of his night is ruined. The rest of his afternoon is ruined. The rest of his week is ruined. It's like getting stung to death by one bee. And for me, it's like. There's such an abundance of women in the world, and maybe because I've traveled so much, I've seen so many beautiful women who are of good hearts, that I don't have time to try and correct someone's behavior or trying to push past that resistance. No time for it.
Yeah, totally. Do you get a lot of fans when you travel around, when you walk around? Do girls come up to you and say hi? Do guys come up to you and say hello?
Guys, yeah, I get recognized, like, and even in Bucharest here, if I go out, not all the time, but if I go out, probably about once every few weeks or so, I'll get a guy come up to me and say, "Hey, are you Zan Perrion?" He could be visiting, or he could be a Romanian guy. So yeah, I get recognized, and they're good guys, and they're sincere. Women don't come up to me and say, "Hey, who are you?"
How do you, if you're talking to a girl, this happens to all the coaches I talk to. If you're talking to a girl and a super fan comes up and he likes you, but it's at the wrong time, how do you handle that? Or do you just say, "Hey, excuse me, I'm talking to a girl right now"?
No. For me, Vince, it's this. Like, when I'm talking to a girl in a bar or party, whatever, I don't care what it is. If I'm talking to her one-on-one like this, I'm very lasered in. I'm talking into her neck. I'm saying strong things to her. I'm saying, "Hello, you, my girl. Hello. Tell me your name again. Come here. Tell me your story in this year, and then tell me your story in this year." And I'm very close and very laser directed, and I'm very sexual to her. Like, who are you, and why are you not my lover? Explain this to me, girl. Blonde girl. What's your name again? Melissa? Blonde Melissa? Why are you not my lover? I don't understand. So I talk like that, very direct, laser focus into her neck, energy of my vibration of my voice. And if a guy comes into that area, if you came, or a buddy of mine in Romania here, or a stranger, or her friend comes into this interaction, now that breaks that laser connection, and I open up the space into this triangle, I guess you could say. This is why I don't do well with wingmen, because when I'm talking to women, I'm very direct, and if a wingman is there, then I include him. I say, "Listen, this is my buddy Vince. He's a great guy, and he's here, and you can have a conversation with him. He's a fantastic guy." I break the energy of me and her direct, and I open it up to include him and push him into it. And there's part of me, I think, that does that because I want to. Interesting. Because I want to see if she's my girl or not. If that makes sense. The thing that like I wrote in my book, Vince, is that the thing that attracts me the most about women, a woman I meet, is devotion to me. More than anything else, if she's devoted to me and she has eyes for me, and all the other guys can hit on her, I don't mind that. I like that. If all the guys can hit on her and try and pick her up and stuff like that, and she's devoted to me, I really like that girl. So I guess for me, it's like preliminarily, I just met this girl, this blonde Melissa, and Vince comes in and says, "Vince, meet this crazy girl. And crazy girl, meet Vince. He's a fantastic guy, and you're going to like him." And I open up that energy, because I want to investigate and because maybe she likes Vince more than me, and if she likes Vince more than me, that's a great thing that just happened. And so I think for me, it's like if a guy comes in, I'm inclusive of the guy. I'm not exclusive. I'm not saying, hey, listen, Vince, hello, I'm talking. Give me 30 seconds with this girl. Give me a couple minutes. I'm trying to wheel this chick. I'm trying to get her phone number. So I never do that. Never. I include the guy because I want to see. That's why I'm talking a lot, but that's why if there's a girl I meet, I'd rather invite her to a house party that are full of my friends. So he can look, she can be her beautiful self, and all the guys can do their, try and break off your chunk, boys, because that's cool. And if she likes you more than me, that's a validating thing. That's a good thing. How can I say that this is a girl that was my girl? Because she's not devoted to me. She wants somebody else. She's interested in something else.
Cool. So you don't get jealous. You don't fight over girls. You just let the girls choose.
Yeah, and a lot of guys will say, come on, man, I saw her first, and, I got her phone number first, and now you're trying to wheel her. Come on, man. And it causes a lot of rift with guys. For me, it's like, let the girl choose. Be your best self. If I meet a girl and I bring her over to your party, Vince, at your house, and say, Vince, this is Melissa. She's a great girl. I met her last week, and I think she's fantastic. And you be your best self. You don't dial yourself down. You be the best Vince that this girl's ever met. And she likes you, and if I see that, I'm thinking, all is right with the universe.
But
that is the way the world's supposed to work.
I would be my best self as a host, but I wouldn't be myself in terms of picking up girls, just because out of respect for you or my friends who visit,
That I understand. There's social graces involved, and you don't know what the relationship is. If you brought a girl into my space, for instance, Vince, and you were seeing her, you could be seeing her for like a day. You met her like earlier that afternoon, or you could be seeing her for 3 years. And so out of respect for you, because you're my friend, out of respect for you, I'm like, okay, let's honor that. And and I'll be myself, and I'll tell my same sexual jokes. I'll be my same self, but I'm going to honor this. I will never, ever, ever, ever cross that line. And, or if because it's an honor thing, I guess, in there. Yeah, so there's social graces. Yeah.
I even dial it back a bit just because. Let's assume that if you're teaching and learning this stuff, that you're a pretty cool dude for a couple of years that you've been doing this. So I actually dial it down a bit, so that's not cause trouble with my friends who don't know the game.
Let me ask you this, Vince.
Yeah.
Sorry. How many times in the past have you been has your buddy liked a girl and talks and tells you, I really like this girl, blah blah blah, and he brings her around and introduces her to you because you're his friend,
right.
And and she knows that she likes you more than the buddy who picked her up, and your buddy can see it, and he feels betrayed by you, even though you did nothing.
Has that happened to me in the past? Maybe in a way in the past, but recently, no. Recently, I'm very good. Like I almost like stop talking, But I think sometimes the girls like you for that, but then they also realize that they're with that guy they're with, and they make that choice. And so, you can feel that if things are different, she'll like you, but she's also, girls are good about that. If they like a guy, they'll stick with him, I think. At least
you know what? I just thought about this now, Vince, because this is an interesting dynamic. But that concept that you hold back, like you dial yourself down a bit, because of the social graces, because of the social dynamic of your buddy. And he's doing his best to like this girl and to like her, or getting her to like him. And I think, you know what? That is the mark of a guy. This is interesting. That concept of like saying, I'm going to dial myself down so I don't like mess up my buddy's game here. That concept, I think, is the mark of a guy who really starts to understand things, who really gets it. Yeah.
Thanks,
because
man. Why is that?
Because how many guys have you known, and have I known over the years, who don't get that social understanding? And you introduce them to a girl and say, hey, I like this girl. And the next thing you know, he's texting her and trying to wheel her behind your back. Right?
Yeah.
That's guys who don't get it. Yeah. So if you have that, Vince, you have something that You have something that a lot of the population does not have. That's incredible.
Thanks, man. But to be honest with you, I learned that from not being like that in the past. And I know I had a really good friend tell me once, hey, man, this is not right. And I didn't realize that. This is my early 20s. And then only until it happened to me did it kind of sink in. So I wasn't always, super cool.
Yeah.
I think we've all made that mistake.
That's cool that you learned that, Vince. I'm serious. That means that the guys will look at you and say, you know what? I can have a friend relation with you because we see eye to eye. And the biggest thing of guys who have women in their lives, they're good with men too. They're brothers to men, and they look at the men and say, you know what? Let's all be on this together. Let's be on the same page. I like women, and I'll introduce you to girls, and this be the same guy. And at the moment you are a sneaky fucker, which is a scientific term that was invented in the 70s, basically in populations of wolves or deer, where there's a hierarchy, or gorillas. The gorilla has this harem of 7 female gorillas, and he's this big silverback, and he's like, and that's his wives. And he goes and he eats some leaves and he scratches his ass over in the corner over there. And while he's not looking, the younger gorillas come over and go to the 7 wives and they fuck them. They go quick, and they run away before the gorilla, and of course the women accept it, or the female gorillas accept it. So this concept of the sneaky fucker is evolutionary, or it's in biology. Right. That's and there's some guys that are like that.
These questions I ask every guy because they're the most common questions that I get from people that visit the site or people that ask me questions. So,
okay,
you're a good-looking guy. Now, do you think that you would have the same effect on women if you weren't? And what do you say to guys who think that they're too short, too tall, too whatever physically?
Well, I tell you this.
The girl that they want.
I will say this, because we've all seen it. We've all seen guys in college or whatever guys who are like frumpy or overweight and they got a pot belly and they get girls. How is this possible that the girls are with that guy? We go to a party, we're dressed well, impeccably. We're tall, we're good looking. And why is the girls going with that to us, frumpy, disgusting guy with like didn't shave and like he's not in shape and this kind of stuff? It's because of the spirit of man, believe me. This is why you'll see women that are beautiful with a guy who's just kind of like a slob, because he has a spirit of what is it, spirit? He has a spirit of presenting him to the world without apology. I think that's what it is. And most guys are apologizing. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. You took that offense by that. And let me explain. And so, these guys just don't care. They're like, you know what? Here's who I am in the world. Here's my good things, which are very good. And here's my bad things, which are very bad. It's like I'm going to celebrate my wholeness. I'm not in shape and I'm not the tallest guy. And I'm going against the racial stereotypes that you normally be attracted to, Swedish girl and blonde Swedish girl. And at the same time, this is who I am. And I'm going to explore it and I'm going to enjoy it. And it's who I am. So there's a spirit of man that makes all the difference. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about any of those demographics that you are.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. But why do you think so many guys have such a hard time getting over it? I think in the beginning they have a really hard time getting over it.
Well, because it's common knowledge. It's like if you go to Africa, for instance, and I've been to Africa. You go to Africa and you go into a club that's predominantly black, like the locals, and you're a redheaded white guy walking in there. You are a rock star. All the guys get out of your way, and all the girls go, "Who is this guy? This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen." And so it's that perception is like, wow, this guy is like exotic,
right?
And I have a lot of like guys that come to me, students who are like older. I'm 50, and I have guys come to me that are 50, this kind of age, and they say, well, how do I become this dynamic? I feel like I've lost my mojo. I was married for 20 years, now it broke up. And I tell you, the thing I say to women who are 23 years old, the first thing out of my mouth when I meet a girl who's like 20, 21, 22, 23 is my age. The first thing I say. And in my 30s, I hid my age. I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of old, so like I don't want to tell girls this because if they're going to be put off by it. But I tell you, the more you celebrate the age you are as a man and say, you know what, I'm 50 now. And if I say to women, listen, I'm old enough to be your father. You never work, run along, play with your little friends. I'm 50 years old. You're what, 21, 22, 23? What can you offer to me? What can you describe to me? What can you show something that is new to me that I've never seen before?
Right,
in other words, exactly. If a man of a certain age says, you know what, I've seen some things in this world, impress me, girl, because I've been impressed before. Then women, young girls especially, will say, you know what, okay, well, I'll impress you. That's the way it goes. And guys instead try to make a joke or hide their age, and and it's a big issue for guys. And for me, it's not an issue at all. The first thing I say to a girl is my age. This is how old I am. Yeah. What am I going to do with you, young girl? Run along.
I think of myself as a vampire, just because. By the way, you age really well, but I'm Asian as well, so I age pretty well, I think.
That's true.
I'm a vampire. The older I get, the more powerful I am. So it's fine.
That's cool.
And as you've seen, as you say, you've seen more of the world, and there's a lot of value there too that I think other people don't understand until they get older.
Yeah.
And
if guys would only, sorry, Vince, if guys would only recognize that they have a world view and a world experience that they can say, a 21-year-old girl is looking at you saying, how old are you anyway? You know what? I'll tell you how old I am. I'm old enough to see the world, and I'm old enough to have stand on this earth and made some decisions about my life. What can you offer to me that is new to me? Explain to me, girl. Hello. Why are you not like every other 21-year-old girl I've ever met? Why? Explain.
I like that.
It's a paradigm shift.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, that means that you have to have lived your life, right? Like, I know guys who are older who haven't lived their life.
Yeah.
They can't say the same thing that you can. So.
And it's never too late. A big part of the Arsa Morada philosophy is like, if not now, which is from Epictetus and Hillel the Elder from 2,000 years ago. If not now, then when? So, like, I tell you, like, guys come to me thinking I'm going to learn about women and dating coaching and that, but we're talking about, in Arsa Morada, in our programs and stuff we're doing, it's about who are you on this earth and what is your focus and what is your bliss. And it's very strong that way. And it's like, it's not too late. I have guys come to my seminars and stuff like that. They were 50 years old, 55 years old. And it's not too late for that guy. That guy can stand on this earth and with his 2 feet planted on the earth and say, you know what, this is who I am. I will not apologize to the world. I will not explain myself to the world in any way. I will explore my masculine edge to the nth degree, and that's who I am.
Right. The idea that change can happen instantly, right? I think we have a flawed philosophy that takes time and takes a lot of pain. But if you do it the right way, you can change pretty quickly.
Well, you know what, Vince, is like the phrase I wrote in my book, and I just stuck it into a paragraph, and maybe guys don't recognize it or don't see it, because it's kind of buried in there. But it's this. The phrase is this: hang around your heroes. Hang around your heroes. Everybody who's done anything great in this world said, who is doing what I want to create, what I want to do, whether it's painting or art or writing, and they go seek that guy out and said, I want to understand it. I'm asking for, I want to understand. If you hang around your heroes, your life will change. Instead, we hang around with a buddy who's like watching sports and like hanging out and trying to pick up a chick and stuff like that. And so we do the same thing every weekend, and we go to our jobs and we go to do the same thing every weekend. If a guy would hang around his heroes and seek those people out on the earth, no matter what the cost, no matter what he has to sacrifice to do it, right, his life will change for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know what I noticed interviewing you is that you are still curious. You're still a student. You're
totally true.
Yeah, you're thinking about things as you're answering them, and I think that's awesome because it lacks the rigidity that a lot of coaches have, in the industry about, this is what it's meant to be. You're still learning and you're still adapting. So that's cool talking to you and noticing that.
That's cool, Vince. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say to this is the last question, maybe one more. What do you say to a young guy out of college who's a total virgin? He's clueless about the world. How does he start? Because there's a lot of ways he can go about it. And now that we have you on here and we have your wisdom, how does a guy start out to really find his way, especially when it comes to his dating life and women?
Well, the first thing I would say to a guy who's young, like a virgin starting out, trying to understand his way and like lost and liking girls, but the girls, are flaking on him. Trust the process and trust that you're stepping forward, trying to understand your dating life. He's on your site, for instance. If they come to my site, my website, or your website, or any of these other websites, it's because they're seekers, which is stronger than 90% of the men out there who their lives also suck to them, but they don't seek. They just go through the motions and get a job and get a mediocre wife and get a mediocre career and get a mediocre car, and they just carry on through life until they retire and get cancer and die. So anybody who's really trying to seek answers and trying to look at your website, for instance, or look at my website, or to go somewhere in this world and hang around the heroes, they can automatically say, at least I did that. At least I'm doing those steps. And so for a young guy out of college who's a virgin trying to sort it out, forgive yourself everything. Forgive yourself all your seeming mistakes, because, my goodness, you should have seen my mistakes when I was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And the embarrassing scenarios that I had were really massively embarrassing. Forgive yourself everything. Forgive yourself the concept that you think you're going backwards when you want to go forward, and instead say, I'm doing my fundamental best to be the most dynamic, interesting man I can be, the best lover a woman's ever met. I'm doing everything I can to create myself into being a woman's fantasy. And if you can honestly say that you're showing up, even in your nervousness, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you're like hesitant and not sure, but you show up anyway. As Woody Allen said, 80% of success is just showing up. And it's for sure. If you just show up anyway as a man and say, you know what, I'm nervous, but I had to come talk to you, your life will change.
Well, we're all beginners at one point or another. So,
yeah,
just accept it. Dude, this is awesome. Thank you so much for doing the interview with us. And I guess one last question would be, do you have any parting thoughts to guys in general? And why do you think, Arsa Morada is such an important movement? Obviously, you started it because you believe that something needed to happen or change, right? So what are your thoughts on, men of the world and what you do?
That's a good question. It's like Arsa Morada to me is like a philosophy that has been brewing for years and years and years. It's been collaborated on, talked about for years. And Arsa Morada is fake Latin for the art of love. And, I condensed everything I've been trying to say for the last 20 years, 15 years, 20 years. I've condensed it all into this 400-page book called The Alabaster Girl. And I basically vomited this out of my system. I could feel it. It's like everything I've ever known or understood about women is in that book. And, we do programs. We have the Arsa Morada Fundamentals program, and we have this network of men around the world who all have, not all, but some of the guys have the tattoo and of the A logo, and we call them the Amorati members. And I'm devoted to the members more than I'm devoted to the workshops and all the, doing that kind of stuff. For instance, in May, we're in Bucharest here, we're having an Amorati General Conference, which is free for all the Amorati members of the world. Who guys are taking our programs and said, I want a better conversation with women. So for me, it's like, I'd rather be part of a community of guys with great questions than being a dating coach trying to make money off of workshops, if that makes any sense. I'd rather do free gatherings around the world with guys in the same conversation, because when I was 19, 20, I didn't have a mentor, as we talked about earlier. I had no answers. I had no man say to me, son, this is how you stand on the earth. This is how you hold an axe. This is how you talk to women. I didn't have that. And so if I can give that to guys, to me, it's greater than trying to have this, this corporate business making money and coaching guys. I've given a lot of my stuff away for years over the years. It's because I want that young guy who I was to have a better message. So, yeah, seek out our programs and do all this kind of stuff and come to Arsa Morada in Romania. And at the same time, just trust that you're on the right path. And if you don't do any of those things, you're stepping forward and you can forgive yourself everything as a young man.
That's awesome. Do you guys, is it a workshop that you do, or do you, it's not similar, it's not the same as a boot camp that most PUA instructors do?
No.
Okay.
My Arsa Morada experience is like the guys come live in the place where I'm living for 5 days from Wednesday to Sunday, and we walk the streets, we talk to girls, we go out, and I watch, and it's only two or three, maybe four maximum guys, and I basically look at them and I say, here's how you're showing up in the world, and here's how women are experiencing you, and here's how you adjust and shift it. So it's a micromanage type of thing, and it's not for everyone, and it's like it's if you have them, it's not because guys have money they can come to it. It's because we select and we say, you know what, you might be ready for this. So we've got online programs and the whole thing with Arsa Morada, and we've got Jordan and Hans who are great coaches and this kind of stuff. But more than coaching programs and making money and making a big business and making this multi-million-dollar enterprise, which I'm not interested at all. I live in a carry-on suitcase for the last 10 years. All I have one pair of shoes. Right. Everything I own is in one carry-on bag, and I'm not kidding. I could walk away from Romania and come to San Diego tomorrow and have all my possessions with me. And I'm not kidding about that, except my guitar. I'll leave it behind. But for me, it's more important that the guys can gather and sit in the conversation of men again and gather around the virtual fire. That, to me, is the great magic of what Arsa Morada is. It's not because we have these great programs that you can buy and products. I'm not interested in that. We want to have gatherings of guys. We can look in the eye and say, that's my brother from Miami, my brother from Vancouver, my brother from Toronto, my brother from Taipei. And I've known these guys for years. And so we created this. I mean, we have a strong Amorati following, which is a free membership of guys who take in program. And like I said, they've got Arsa Morada tattooed on their body somewhere. So anyway,
that's
I can go on and on.
I'll be sure to tattoo a link to the blog post. What's the URL? Is arsamorada.com?
It's zanperrion.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. ZanPerrion.com. And we're working on arsamorada.com. We had it going and we're stripping it out and revamping it. So in the next 2 months or so, it'll be back up again. arsamorada.com.
All right, man. Sounds good. I'll put a link to your book, also on Amazon. It's really
Thank you, Vince. Thank you.
Honestly, it's such a great gift. I mean, it's so cheap and there's so much knowledge in there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Zan, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And hopefully you'll come again.
I'll be back for sure.